Are you trying to dominate your fantasy football league? Do you want so many championship rings it's impossible to sign autographs? Well, crack open a beer, pour yourself a glass of bourbon, and settle in, because you've come to the right place. Welcome to Hammercast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the special edition of the Double D Show, which is part of the Hammercast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Coleman, and on this episode we have guest Jon Camacho. I don't want to say special guest because he's on all the time, and he's part of the Hammercast stuff. And from Between the Pylons, also make sure you check that out to talk about the recent trade involving the Rams and the Lions. So, Jon, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you didn't say special guest. There's nothing special. No, I'm just kidding. What's up, man? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this. Like, the second this news broke, I was pumped. Like, I was talking about on my podcast when like there was rumors, like we knew a trade was coming. We knew that Stafford was going to go somewhere, and it was just all speculation. And the Rams were like, I think 1,100, like plus 1,100 odds to land Stafford. And I remember even saying then, like, man, that would be ridiculous. Like, that team with a good quarterback. Never been a fan of Goff. That's just me. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but like, my instant reaction is just awesome. I'm very excited for what the Rams have cooking.
Yeah, so I'm sure everybody that watches this and hears it knows, but just so you guys know, Detroit basically traded Matthew Stafford to Los Angeles for two future first, a third, and Jared Goff. Initially, I was pretty shocked by the price, but when you look at the price tag that they had, I've never been a Goff guy, so I've hated Goff for longer than I can remember. And I just didn't think he was a very good quarterback. I thought he was a system quarterback. I thought that McVay made him look very good. They hit his deficiencies. I don't own Goff in any league that I'm in, and so I've always tried to stay away from him. Having said that, though, I kind of like the deal for both sides. I understand the deal for the Rams side, like you talked about. And, this is a quarterback-driven league. And, me and David, we went through all the quarterbacks in a recent episode. And, after you get past like that 10th quarterback, man, it gets dry. And it's a little nerve-wracking when you're getting down there at the bottom. I mean, Kirk Cousins, those type of guys, Drew Lock, I know they're going to be draft picks, but you got to go get your dude. And you know what? The Rams got their guy, and I love the deal.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. It's one of those things where at a certain point you get past that, okay, there's potential, this dude could develop, and you get to a point where it's like, okay, if it hasn't happened now, this kind of just is what he is. Yeah. And I think this was his worst year. Like I will say, since I would say his rookie year, I think with Fisher, this really was his worst year in the NFL, and it was matched really well because they had a great defense. They had a good run game, especially down the end when Akers really got going and they just kind of started feeding in the ball. Yeah, it was kind of easy to mask. Even I would argue, and I don't know if you would agree with this, but the year they went to the Super Bowl, they were masking him then too. I mean, it was a scheme, and you had a proficient quarterback, but you did not have a quarterback that was elevating the game. In my opinion, Stafford elevates the game. There are, I mean, I would say every couple weeks there's a play that gets no social media buzz, that doesn't go anywhere, like no look passes and crazy plays, crazy throws from Stafford that just don't get the amount of attention that I think like would happen. Like Patrick Mahomes threw it, it'd be on ESPN and everywhere. If Aaron Rodgers does it, it's everywhere. Stafford does it. Like people don't realize that Stafford is a legit. I mean, 4 years ago I would have said top 5 passer, like arm talent. Mm-hmm. Now there's a lot of younger guys that are in there, top 10 for sure right now. And he's going to be 32 to start the season. Got him for 6 years. If you obviously re-sign him, and obviously there's 2 years left on the deal. But I from the Rams side, and that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Huge upgrade for a team whose offense is loaded. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I think we feel good about it. Yeah, they probably need to draft some, alignment. They're supposed to have 3 third-round picks. 2 are going to be comps. And it's a very deep tackle class. So they're going to be able to get some guys that can probably get in and help in the offensive line. Other than that, offense is set. Defense, I mean, we know it's good. And yeah, they need help at linebacker, but I don't see a glaring flaw in this team. And I really think am I crazy? Am I overreacting by saying like this is a Super Bowl favorite in the NFC, or like to make a serious push? Like
they really got to shore up that offensive line. I think that's one area. And like you talked about it, and I love this. You and me both love the draft. I like Debbie stuff, but I also know this offensive tackle and these offensive guards, there's a lot of depth
Yeah.
And some of them may not be right away, but you can develop these guys, and I think that's a key one. I like that. I like that idea of kind of where is that offensive line at? Where are they going to go forward? I love their weapons. I love Van Jefferson, and I think that he can be kind of that third guy in that offense. And so I love the deal. As far as the Lions' perspective, just talking just general ideas about it, I don't mind it. They had to get rid of him. I think Goff, whatever Goff is to them, I know people said he was sought after. He's young. He is still young. He's a nice bridge guy, right? 1 to 2 years if they decide to draft someone like Trey Lance, which I think they're going to go away from. They might, but I had a pretty big Lions expert on this last couple of days, and he talked about they're probably looking up till next year's draft. So you got Spencer Rattler, Hal, maybe Slovis, depending how he plays in there. Those type of guys coming forward, and they could just basically have Goff for this year. Maybe they don't play well, which I don't think they will. That defense needs a lot of work, and then they go forward. And you be careful with future first rounds. Those are probably going to be late. Even if they are late, you still got to hit them. And those are, if you go through the draft, you never know. You better have a good scouting process. The Lions better know who they're taking. But I like the deal on both sides, to be honest. I liked it. And from the Detroit perspective, you had to get rid of Stafford. It was time. And it's time to rebuild. And the best way you do is get first. And that's kind of what you're looking for. I love it both sides.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. You look at the Lions' perspective, at least in my opinion, coming into this season, the Lions have to be thinking this is the teardown year. I mean, if they really want to build this thing right, exactly what the Dolphins did in 2019. We saw it a little, not really from the Jets, but I was going to say, we see it pretty consistently. I feel like this is the teardown year. In my opinion, they weren't trading for Goff. The Rams were trading to get rid of that contract. I feel like that's the Lions did the Rams a favor, and the Dolphins did it for the Rams too. Actually, they traded for the cornerback whose name I'm losing out on. It was a later round pick. It wasn't as big of a blockbuster deal or anything. But the Rams are not shy of trading guys that they gave a bad contract to and giving up a pick just to get it off their books. So yeah, you get multiple first round picks. And a third, is that third this year? I think it's the third's this year, and then the obviously two first following the next 2 years. Like you said, obviously, yeah, you got to hit on them. Then that's the big thing. But listen, when the Dolphins made the blockbuster deal with Tunsil, they got multiple firsts, multiple seconds. No one in their right mind was thinking, oh, they're gonna end up getting the third pick in the draft. And I'm not 100% saying that at all. But to say, it's going to be a later round pick, I do believe that. I 100% believe it'll be a later round pick. But when we made that trade with Tunsil, I thought we would be drafting in late 20s for the Texans, for 2 years. So, things change. You never really know in the NFL. I absolutely agree. I think the Lions are doing this right. I hope, for Lions fans, I know a handful of Lions fans actually, and I feel for all of them. I think, there should be a good amount of excitement. It feels like you got a players coach in there, like Dan Campbell. I remember him when he was coaching for the Dolphins in that interim year. He was a lot of fun. I was a big fan of his, and obviously we didn't end up re-signing him and everything. But I'm excited to see what he can do. The schematics of it is going to be interesting. What they're going to try and do, literally on the field. I don't know. I don't know what their team is going to look like. I think we'll get a lot more hints on that, when they go through the draft and see what type of guys they want to bring in. But right now, look, you got the 7th pick in the draft. Add a foundational piece. I think you wherever you want to go with it, D-line, O-line, something like that. Add a foundational piece that can be good for a lot of years and move forward. Like you said, you don't have to take the quarterback of the future this year. You have Goff. He'll be your bridge quarterback, and then we'll move on. We'll see what they do next year. And I'm pumped for both sides. I think I can't really imagine what a better trade would have looked like. This feels like the perfect situation for both sides.
It's one of those things that you just needed it. They needed both. It's like a breakup that you both knew was coming. Yeah, it's like, all right, yeah, you know what? This separation's needed. And I think they got it. And I think that we could see Goff maybe play well. And if you look at Stafford finished as a 16th ranked quarterback in PPR formats. Obviously, it doesn't really matter, but he finished there. And just right behind Goff, who was 15th. But with Goff's weapons, I think Stafford will elevate himself into that QB1 top 12 easily. Now, if we go to the Rams, if we're talking about the Rams, are there any who does this help out the most, do you think? So I know the wide receivers, obviously, but, what are you looking at that offense? Are you looking to buy these guys? Because now their price guys got higher. So are you willing to pay that extra price for these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I still say of all the skill positions, I think Cam Akers is the most valuable. I think we saw down the stretch that Cam Akers is going to start getting the workload. I really believe that. So that would be like my first step. As far as the wide receivers, I don't is their value is higher, but is it like go out and you have to buy these dudes? I think it's more like if you already had them on your dynasty team or on your team, you're really happy about it. I'm not bringing like if we're in just a regular redraft, I'm not raising Cooper Kupp's draft stock a round and a half or two. Like I definitely think it's a bump. I don't think it's a bump enough to say, oh, I got to go out and trade for this dude at the highest price in the offseason. I wouldn't say. Do you think it is? Or is that where you went with this?
Well, I'm trying to think of like, I don't think I would actively try to go get the receivers. I'm always going to try to actively get Cam Akers because I think Cam Akers is very good. The receivers, I love Robert Woods, but I don't know if I'm willing to pay Robert Woods prices. I think it's going to be fine. I would be much more open to getting someone like Van Jefferson, who I think is going to be cheaper. And I think that they really like because I think you can kind of get that wide receiver 3. It just kind of depends on what you want. Now, there is a trade I want to – so Cam Akers, I want to know his value to you. Now, would you give up Miles Sanders for Cam Akers?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that actually happened recently. So when we're thinking about like if you're trying to buy Cam, you're going to have to come with something a little bit more valuable, probably a first-round pick or 2. Probably he's pretty much going for 2 first rounds right now. That's kind of where his value is at based on how he finished. I don't know about 2 first rounds. To me, that might be a little much. It depends on where those first are. If they're late first, I'm okay with it. If you need a running back, because I think the running back class in this class is not the strongest. But he did go for smaller prices there. As far as Kupp goes and those guys, I don't know. Cooper Kupp is he's hard to judge because I don't know if it was the lack of production where he'd have those up and down games was it because of Goff and the offense not being there, or was it because Kupp and Woods and those guys really struggle with kind of that production being consistent? He's basically going for a first-round pick. I don't know, in this studded wide receiver class, if you want to give up a first for Kupp.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would consider it. I think if I'm in the back of the first round, if I feel like I'm missing out on Smith and Chase and even Waddle, I feel very confident that Waddle's going to be really good, at least for my rankings. If I'm missing out on those guys and I feel like I need a wide receiver, I don't think I'd hate it. I don't know. That'd be tough for me. That's something I'm not going to feel good about. Like I don't think I'm going to feel super warm if I see trading a first for Kupp. I like Kupp. I do think he has a lot of value. He's the wide receiver I want on that team moving forward. I think because Robert Woods is kind of getting up there. I mean, I don't know when he starts to get on that downward spiral. I feel like Kupp is still at his peak physical ability at this point in his career. So I definitely like Kupp. I don't think I would hate a trade for the first. I don't think I would personally do it. Is that fair to say? That's a tough one because I could see it. I think it might be situational.
I'm the type of guy right now. Like if I can get Waddle, I'm taking Waddle over Kupp. So if I have Kupp and the guy that wants Kupp, if I can get Waddle there, I love this because I think rookie wide receivers are going to start producing in the NFL just because of college production and because we see this now. All these college offenses have trickled down to the NFL. And so now you have this trickle-down effect. Now receivers are going to be the big good values, not just running backs anymore. I think rookie receivers that we saw with Jefferson, even CD before Dak got hurt, all these guys, Ayuk, those guys can contribute, and I'd rather have them on a dynasty team because I think they can give you more value going forward.
So let me ask you this. Where's the line? So I said 3 names. Chase, Smith, and Waddle I think are kind of the consensus. Man, I don't care where they go. I want that player. I think they're going to be good. Is that the line where you would rather have those guys over Kupp, or is there anybody else in there that you would really consider?
I would probably consider Terrace Marshall from LSU. I really like Marshall. He's really high on my list. And
gotcha. I haven't watched him yet.
Maybe Bateman. So it's Bateman's a weird one right now with me. I don't know if he's Minnesota friendly just because of the way that they kind of use their wide receivers and how they kind of get the safety back and they use their kind of double sets. I love Terrace Marshall though. So I would probably be that line right there, the Terrace Marshall Bateman line. But again, even maybe Rondale Moore, right? It kind of depends on where he falls. But I do like Woods right now because Woods' price is actually, I was looking up his price recently. He went for a second and Chenault from Jacksonville. It's an interesting deal, and I can see kind of where that's at.
I would. I take the second in Chanel over Woods personally.
If I'm contending, I actually, now that Stafford's there, I would feel very more comfortable with taking Woods. If I am rebuilding, depends what that second is. Give me an earlier second, and then I can kind of live with it because you're not getting probably a running back in that area, so you're probably going to get another wide receiver. So I can kind of live with the double up there. But Woods has always been a tricky guy. I don't really have Woods. I don't know if you have Woods on your Dynasty roster, so it's hard for me. I never bought any of the Rams players because I didn't like Goff. So there was like that. I don't have them on my team except for Akers, and I think Akers is a really big buy. I would definitely move like Miles and those guys for Akers right now because I think Akers are going forward. Anything else on LA?
So I wanted to ask you. So you said a second, and this might be a slight off topic, but I'm just curious where, because you follow the Dynasty drafts more than I do. I'm following the NFL draft. Like, is the second pick in Dynasty, is that where like Amon-Ra, St. Brown is going? Is that kind of the range we're looking at, or am I going to be able to? Because I like Amon a whole lot. I think he's a great pick. Or is that the range, or who's going in the second round? I guess is what I'm asking.
So if if we're talking about Superflex, what I would say is Amon-Ra is going to fall into like that 2.3 to 2.7. He's going to be in there. I think that people are questioning him. I love Amon. I think he's going to be great. And now, unless he finds a good landing spot, like if he goes to the Packers, or if he goes to somewhere where they need a slot receiver, if he goes to the Eagles, even the Eagles, where I think that they could really use his kind of talent, that might bump him up a little bit more. But because there's going to be probably 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round of Superflex drafts, that's going to push all that talent into that 2.2 to 2.7. As far as one quarterback, it'll be close. I think that you might be able to grab him towards the end. He recently just went at 2, basically in a 10-man mock that we did. He went in the second round, the second pick. So it was essentially like the end of the first if you're in a regular 12-man league.
Okay, I was just curious. That was just like a one name that I thought of. Oh, God, I hope he doesn't go to the Packers. The Packers do not need another wide receiver with drops issues, and Raw has that. All right, yeah, I'm good with LA. Let's move.
Well, on. You know what? We did forget. What about Higbee? What do we do with Higbee? Everybody loved Higbee. They're moving on from Everett. Do you think because of what he did with Hawk that he's going to have that same effect kind of with Higbee?
I wouldn't translate that. No, I would think that this is going to be scheme. He's going into a Ram scheme. He's going to play in that scheme. I would think that it's just dependent. Do we believe there's a bump for Higbee because we have a better quarterback? Yeah, I don't think it's substantial. I don't look at Higbee as like a must buy or anything at the tight end position. I think he's kind of part of that tier where it's like there's a lot of guys there that's like kind of interchangeable. Is that fair to say? I mean,
Again, I never buy Higbee either. Remember all last offseason, it was all a Higbee show. He's going to finish top 5.
Yeah,
I never got on it because I didn't like Goff. I mean, Higbee finishes a 17 tight end in the league. That's not good. And so I want to see it more. I wouldn't really want to go buy him because I don't like buying into sunken assets. And so I feel like that's a sunken asset. Even though his value is pretty low, I still, like I saw it yesterday on Twitter, go get Higbee. And I was like, I don't know about that. So I think that you just kind of have to sit back and wait on him. Yeah. So for me, he's a hold if you have him, or maybe a sell depending on what
I'm going to say. Yeah, if you find somebody who wants, like if somebody's willing to trade top value, if they see top value in Higbee, I would have no problem moving him.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy him. I would stay away from that. Now let's go to Detroit because I think this is going to be interesting because I think it really, I saw some guys going out there and saying you're doing Dynasty wrong if you don't buy Goff. I don't know about that. I guess so. I saw someone say in a Superflex league they would give up a second for Goff. Would you do that?
Whoa, no, I don't know. I'd rather have the Mac Jones or something like that. I don't even know where he's going to. I don't even believe in Mac Jones. I think I'd rather have it. No, I think Goff he's got 1 year and maybe 2 years, and I don't even think he's a starter after that. No, I don't see Goff as a good situation. Look, maybe from the sense that they're going to be down a lot and throwing a lot in 2021, if that's. But no, I don't see that at all. I don't get that. Where's the angle? I guess like can you play devil's advocate there and explain it to me because I don't see that at all.
I could see him having like a top. I could see him finishing basically where you're at. So 15th, 16th, 17th range, maybe. Like it depends on what bring they in, if they're going to bring Golladay back or not. I can still see him finishing there, but that's not a guy you're going to want him as your QB. I guess I guess if you're getting him as your QB2, probably I'd feel more comfortable with maybe a QB3. Let's say you want to kind of solidify that, especially with where the QBs are right now. Yeah. I guess maybe you can think about that. I mean, but I don't know. Like I saw a deal for Goff for Ben Roethlisberger and Cole Beasley. I guess if you're trying to get younger.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that because those are two guys. Ben has just as many years as Goff as a starter, guaranteed pretty much. I give Ben one more year. I give Goff one more year, and then we'll see. And then Cole Beasley, the Bills are going to draft a wide receiver, so we don't know what Cole Beasley is going to look like next year. So I don't hate that trade. If that's the value, that seems fair. Although I will say, if Big Ben starts for the Steelers, he's going to have a better year statistically than Goff, I would think. I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Galladay's not back. Feels like it to me. I'm just saying they're breaking down, and I assume that they're going to break down. So I don't think they're going to pay really anybody. I wouldn't think. Are you thinking there's a chance he comes back?
I have a hard time thinking that, just because I don't think they want to put the money into him. And why would he want to come back? I mean, I guess they could franchise him, but I just think they want to move on from that. I think they're moving on from Marvin Jones. A guy that we talked about on the last podcast, if you guys listened to it, was John Ross. So he's a free agent. He can kind of stretch the field. I'm still a truther of John Ross. They could bring in someone like that to kind of, accompany that. They're going to probably draft a wide receiver. We talked about a bunch of different guys they could draft. I like Isaiah McCoy from Kent State, a couple other guys out there that maybe they can grab. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I think that they're going to get rid of Galladay. They're going to take away kind of that idea. They're going to rebuild that. And that's why I really want to buy Swift, because I think they're going to run the hell out of the ball. And with everything they brought in, with Deuce Staley at running back coach, they got Anthony Lynn at offensive coordinator. They got all these different groups. I think they're going to pound the ball. They're going to get him targets. They're probably going to bring in another running back, probably in the draft, I would assume. But still, I still think that they're going to at least, you're going to see probably 7 to 10 targets and probably 15 to 20 rushes, right? I don't see how.
No, that's a great point, because you look at, obviously, Deuce Staley, the running backs coach. You also look, where did Dan Campbell come from? He watched Kamara blow up. Yeah. Swift can play that role for sure. I absolutely agree. That's not even something I thought about. But yeah, you're right. Swift is a great buy. The only other buy that I would look for Quintez Cephas getting a bigger role in his second year. Again, I think they're going to go younger. They're going to give all these young guys a shot. I don't want to make the connection to the Dolphins, but in 2019, that's what the Dolphins did. And, that wasn't a good team. It wasn't a fantasy team to own. But, a younger guy like Preston Williams wasn't a terrible guy to have, and he was free for the Dolphins that year. I could see that kind of situation happening, where it's like these names that we're not really expecting becoming a bigger part of the conversation. But yeah, Swift, man, just with all the other names going up there to Detroit, that is a great example. I did not think of that. That's a really good one.
So here's what this just happened in the league, and it's a PPR league. It's a super flex league. I want to hear your opinion, because I asked the last guy and he was kind of shook. So DeAndre Swift or DK Metcalf? That happened straight up.
DK.
Okay. DeAndre Swift or Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb.
Okay. So again, it's interesting to see where that value is at, right? Okay. Here's another one. DeAndre Swift, a late second for Alvin Kamara, and a late third.
I'm still taking Alvin. Yeah.
They're close, though. It's getting close.
Yeah, I guess. But at the end of the day, Swift is still. That's the devil you don't know. I don't know for sure. I believe you, and I think we're on the same page that I think he'll be great. Yeah. But Chubb's amazing. Kamara's amazing, and DK is amazing. I think we need to go a step down before we start talking about value. I would, you mentioned Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders for sure. I would much rather have the Swift than the Miles Sanders. I think that's kind of the range I would look at. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I would move, if you have James Robinson right now, I would move him and something for Swift. So I would try to package something, because I'm not a James Robinson guy. I haven't been. I think he had a great year. I'm proud of him, but I really believe in draft capital, and he's not a guy that has draft capital. And so I really think that if you have James Robinson on your squad, you could package him with something and trade it for Swift and get your guy. And I think that would be a good move.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think, man, I have a soft spot for those late round or undrafted guys that end up doing what he did. So I could see that. No, you're right. The value is absolutely there. You'd much rather have Swift than Robinson probably.
So here's the deal right here. So James Robinson and Gallup for Swift.
James Robinson and Gallup
for Swift.
I
think it's fair, right?
The Gallup with Dak is so like I think I'd probably rather have Swift because Gallup is a part of that 3 wide receivers, and you're not gonna get consistency there. We right at this moment, we don't know how much Robinson will probably get a running mate in the offseason at some point. I would assume like a late round pick or something along those lines. And then Swift, he might get a running mate, but Swift is going to be the number 1. So you're right. I don't know if I feel great about it, but that's a tough one for me. I don't know.
But I think I would, just based on Swift, and I really feel like you want to top right now, solidify your running backs. If you're going to trade for running backs, I kind of did this dynasty tip the other day, is you want to get guys are going to start and be the center of that offense right now. If you're trading for, don't try to get a value running back right now because that value turns into shit by September, August, because they've drafted somebody, they brought somebody in. Look at how fast the values change. And you talked about Quintus Cephas. I like Quintus. He's going for pretty cheap. I mean, just a few days ago, he went for Todd Gurley straight up.
Yeah, I'd rather.
If you can get rid of Gurley for anything right now, guys, you get rid of Gurley because you got to do it, And then Darrington Evans for Quintus Cephas. Again, I would probably tend to lean towards Cephas because of his playing time. I love Evans, but he got drafted by Tennessee, and that dude's just going to die on that bench, and there's nothing he can do.
Yeah. By the end of the year, he was the third string running back. They got overtaken by whoever the other dude was. I absolutely agree. So let me ask you this: is there a what am I trying to say here? Is there a scenario that you see where the Lions end up like sticking with Goff and end up trying to build around Goff? Do you think there's any chance that like I'm just completely off base on my thought process that Goff is the ultimate bridge quarterback that you're just going to move on from in a year or two?
I think he's the bridge, but I do think that if he has an okay year, they could maybe change their plan, right? So I think what they did is they said, okay, our 1-year plan right now is we're going to accumulate draft picks, and then we're going to give Goff a shot. We're going to say, hey, can you do this? They have him under that contract, so they're going to have to see next year. So I do think if he plays well enough, hey, who knows? Maybe he will come out and play well enough. Maybe they shift the rebuild, right? Maybe they do more running attack and they protect him and they go from there. And Goff did make a Super Bowl. Like, yes, they did hide his things and McVay did very well, but let's not pretend like Goff didn't get to a Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that he's terrible. He can get you to the playoffs. It's just you have to have that roster around you. So the big question for you that I'm thinking of is, can the Lions build a roster around them? Because they've failed to do that since, 1957? So this is what we're talking about here. That's where my question would be, would they be able to? And if Goff doesn't do it, then he's done. Like, if he doesn't show very good next year, I cannot see him being a starter going forward.
Yeah. But I think he has a long career as a backup. He'd be a great backup. But I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think the NFL in general is moving away from the serviceable quarterback to build a team. I mean, we've seen the difference. Just look at last year. Would you drafted the Tua, who is the ultra accurate quarterback that's coming in and does everything technically well, and then you have the Herbert who at least coming into the draft felt more like a wild card. We weren't sure, but we knew he had a big arm, knew he had the athleticism, and just 1 year in, it feels like slam dunk who won that. Who's winning in those 2 picks. It feels like even you go back 3-4 years consistently, the quarterback that doesn't have that that big arm or the athleticism, that other things that go along with it, feels like they die out in the NFL very, very fast. Like, we're so far removed from the pocket. I mean, I say that, and we have a pocket passer, in the Super Bowl again. So,
he doesn't count. He doesn't count. He's an Iron Man. No, you're right. That Konami code quarterback. We need that. That rushing floor. Who's going to be there? And when I was going through the quarterbacks, you go through the top 10, I believe like 9 out of 12 of them had some type of rushing floor that you really could rely on. That's what it is. That's why I love Trey Lance. That's why I love these guys that are coming in the league now. It's shifting. And I think it's college offenses are shifting, and Goffs are going to go away. That's why I kind of worry about Mac Jones a little bit. I know he's accurate, and I know he can throw, but damn, he cannot move in that pocket when you're watching him. So you're right about Goff. I really, I worry about Goff, but at the same time, I think that he can maybe have that bridge, and maybe he does well. But, it's the Lions, so who the hell knows? Because we don't know necessarily. I do believe in kind of their idea. I wish they would have went a more offensive-minded head coach. I know Salah, he was even from that area, so I wish they would have grabbed him. But Bieniemy, I would have loved someone in there that could kind of got that. I don't know, just that kind of offense around them. But Brad Holmes came in. I think Brad has a good track record as a GM, and I think that he can kind of build something. You can see his plan right now. And I think the Lions fans have gone so long without a plan. It's kind of nice to see, hey, at least we're getting something. But, I don't know. The last guy I really wanted to ask you about, and then we'll kind of be done here, is Hawkinson. What are you doing with Hawkinson? Because I saw somebody say sell him. I saw someone say buy him. So we're all over the map now with Hawkinson.
Yeah, so I have a weird relationship with Hawkinson because throughout, like, since he's been drafted, I hated the pick so much because of the value at tight end at 8 overall. I'm a big draft value guy. So I always got this air about me that hates Hawkinson. I don't hate Hawkinson at all. He's a great player. And I'm kind of is this weird reversal for me where I believe Hawkinson. I mean, I think he can make that jump into an elite tight end. I don't know if it will ever happen. It's very tough to say with the situation he's in now with Goff and the rebuild or anything. I think it's two separate things. The player, I really believe that the player has all the talent in the world. He really can make that jump. The draft value or the fantasy value, I mean. I don't know if I'm buying him. I think I'm holding. I think I'm holding. If I have him, I'm good. I don't want to sell him because I think his upside is very, very high. But I can't. I don't think I could go out and really trade for him either. So I think I'm at a hold right now for him. What are some trades that you've seen there?
Yeah, he's a hard one because I think people were kind of worried about like what he was and coming through. I've seen some interesting ones, and again, these are a little bit recently. So everything's kind of they have something combined. So T.J. Hawkinson and Tyler Boyd for Chris Godwin. I actually really liked the Hawkinson and Boyd side because I'm a Boyd guy. But so there's something paired. He went for a first. He went straight up for Miles Sanders in a tight end premium league. That's a deal.
Tight end premium. I've never played a tight end premium, so I don't know from personal experience. I would think that's. I'm not a big Sanders guy. I'm out on Sanders, so I would think I'd kind of like the trade for Hawkinson, assuming you have a running back behind there that you feel comfortable with. I like that trade a lot.
And the last one I saw was Hunter Henry in a second, and so for Hawkinson straight up. So again, yeah. It depends where Hunter goes, right? Like I've seen a couple places.
And the other thing is like Hawkinson. I'm not saying this will happen, but I'm saying like it's within the realm of possibility that Hawkinson becomes the centerpiece of that offense. Yeah. I mean, it seems like he's really the only guy there in the passing offense, not the entire offense. But I mean, I don't expect really them to resign anybody. I don't expect them to go out and get a big name. If they draft a wide receiver, which I'm sure they will, they're going to probably need to. It's not going to be. I hope it's not in the first 2 rounds because I think there's more important positions. There's more foundational players to go get, and wide receiver should be the guy that you get when you already kind of have a good team built around and you add that piece in. So I could definitely see it. I'm not saying it will happen. I could definitely see Hawkinson being that centerpiece of the passing offense because they don't really have anybody else that we mentioned. I mean, we went down the barrel with Cephas. Is there really anybody else as a wide receiver that you're really looking at?
They're going to have to bring in a free agent, and if they even do that, I don't know who would want to go there. It's going to have to be a prove-it deal. But hey, the thing about Hawkinson I really like, he ranked 8th in air yards with 751. He ranked 4th with receptions. His yards per reception ranked 19th in the NFL. That's still pretty damn good. And his yards per target has 17. So, and in a bad offense with just terrible offensive line play, they were still giving Adrian Peterson the ball. So, when you look at those type of things, he was pretty damn efficient tight end. So now you add Goff, who, when we just talked about with Higbee, we didn't really see that production, but now this is a different offense now. And I still think that they can kind of target him. And without those options, and I still think Hawkinson can line up in the slot, kind of like your guy down in Miami. So, like, when you're looking at these type of things, I still think that he can line up in the slot and kind of be that weapon rather than just that dude that lines up, on the in line, goes out for a 5-yard out. Now, he's never going to be a burner. Hawkinson's not a burner, but you can line him in the slot and have his versatility out there and kind of, really work with him. I think that's why he's a buy-ish for me if you can get a good price. Like, if I can get him for Hunter Henry and maybe a 3rd instead of a 2nd, I would do it.
Yeah, no, I think Yeah, I'd probably do that too. I would, because I mean the Hunter Henry thing, there's so many question marks, and I mean we're kind of past the glow of Hunter Henry's going to be the next dude. I mean if just the injuries and stuff, I don't even think it's his fault, but the injuries and everything, we don't know where he's going to be. I would probably. Am I crazy for saying I would probably rank Hawkinson over Henry straight up right now? Is that wild or no?
I don't know. It's pretty. I think it's just kind of dependent on what you want. You know what I mean? Like how you feel about those players. Hunter Henry is just one of those guys. I'm so sick of him getting 8 points on my fantasy team. Like that's literally what he does. He gives me 8 points. That's who he is. He's Hunter Henry, 8 points. So I think that's pretty good. I like that idea. I like kind of where we're coming from there. And now I don't really think there's anybody else that we can talk about because that's pretty much they don't have any value there. After those guys, and it'll be interesting to see. But like I said, and I'll let John kind of tell you where you can find him and everything. But I really agree that this is a good deal for both. Now let's move on, and they're going to build. The Rams are going to go for it. Lions are going to rebuild. But the two guys that I definitely want is I want Swift and I want Akers. And I don't mind paying more for Akers. I think I have Akers ranked ahead of him right now. I don't mind paying more for Akers than Swift, but I think Swift is an easier get right now, so I wouldn't mind getting either one, to be honest.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Hey, real quick, and this is slightly off topic, but like I'm very headstrong on Akers. Who's like obviously the big names are ahead of Akers, but where do you rank Akers in your top 12 dynasty rankings? I know you put out your wide receivers. If you don't have your running back rankings, that's fine. But I'm just curious where your thoughts are there.
Yeah, so if I had to do that off the top of my head, I know I did it earlier before all of this kind of news that came out, but if I had to go off the top of my head, he's around like that 12-ish mark. Really? Like he's in that area because I think that he has that value. Now, of all the rookie running backs, I don't know about you, probably Jonathan Taylor comes first. Yeah. When you're looking at the other guys, I really like Swift, Akers, Dobbins is my guy, so I'm going to kind of have him ranked based on just kind of that offense. But I think Akers could be the best value of all those guys.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, no, okay, fair enough. I was just curious where you were because I would have Akers ahead of Dobbins for me, straight up. I think just moving forward. Like I love Dobbins. I had Dobbins ranked as I think Dobbins is the better running back. I'll put it that way. But I think situation they're going to be moving their running backs in and out of the lineup. I can see Akers taking the grunt of that workload for very very soon. Obviously, I'd really like Akers a whole lot this year.
I have a tier, and so it's like that. It's like that 9 through 12 tier where it's like basically Dobbins, Swift, and then like Zeke. And then obviously Akers is in there. So like you have that kind of like weird kind of tier kind of in there. And I don't really know where to put them. I have them above CEH. I have them above Antonio Gibson. I have them above Joe Mixon. I have them above Miles Sanders. Eckler, those guys. So I have them above those guys. But they're kind of that weird same tier. But I think that tier, what's going to happen is that tier is going to move up into the 4, 5, 6, 7 rank and the following there. So I think those are our next guys. Like those are the dudes. So get them now in that tier. And then they're going to be in that top 5 tier for you, and that's where your value gets from.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm gonna have you tell where to find you, what you got working on, what your next, your content is. So why don't you go ahead and do that?
Yeah, obviously between the pylons on YouTube, I post twice a week, draft profiles twice a week. I put a lot of work into that, and that's been growing really well. I've been really excited about that. You can check me out on Twitter. I'm not super active on Twitter. I've really just I've gotten this is dumb. I've gotten into TikTok lately, which is it's silly, but I've grown like 1,000 followers in like the last week on TikTok. So follow me on TikTok because I think that's gonna start being a thing. Like I can live stream now on TikTok, which is great. That's weird. Like you have to hit 1,000 to do that. So yeah, between the pylons podcast, check that out if you're interested. On YouTube, YouTube's really the main thing that I put a lot of my content out on. And then I'm trying to find time to write some articles here for Hammercast, but between starting the new job and everything else, I haven't gotten a whole lot of time to do that.
No, man, we appreciate you coming on. As always, you can find me at DuBois_22. And tomorrow, if you're watching this later, we'll have it up on the YouTube channel. I'm doing a Devy dive into the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I'm bringing on an Ohio State expert. We're going to be talking about all things Devy, their depth chart, quarterback situation, everything like that. So we appreciate you guys listening, and have a good night.
Did you get all that? If not, make sure you head over to hammercast.com. subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep grinding.